What's up, my movie niggas? The Bisexual Movie Buff is back, and I have a guest. What's your name?
My name is Ty.
And, what movie did we just watch?
We just watched Death Wish with, oh god, I forgot his name.
Charles Bronson.
Charles Bronson, my man Charles Bronson.
Could you hand me that paper?
Absolutely.
Hand me those cards. I usually write everything down on notes, but I was a little rushed for time, so I just print off IMDb. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, fuckers and cunts, let's get this started.
It's very vulgar.
Well,
I'll be the clean language side of this. I'm gonna, for every swear you do, I'll subtract one from my palate.
I never mean to offend, just so that every type of person in the audience knows I'm talking to them.
Okay.
Okay. The movie Death Wish stars Charles Bronson as Paul Kersey, a architect and I guess a pacifist, and he just comes back from vacation in Hawaii with his wife, played by Hope Lang, and while he's away working at his business, his wife and daughter are mugged, raped, and killed, and his wife is killed, his daughter is brutally raped, and is put into a almost catatonic state, and he is just not sure what to do or how he feels. And after going on a business trip to Tucson, Arizona, where he meets a almost stereotypical but pretty enjoyable Southern type character who shows him a gun club.
He's almost romanced by the Western culture of gunslinging.
Yeah. Originally I read he was supposed to be inspired to become a vigilante by watching the movie High Noon on TV, but the director Michael Winner felt it should be something more than just watching a movie.
Right.
So he decided to set up the whole... There's a scene where they go to this location that's apparently been used for movies before, where they do reenactments of Old West type robberies, and watching it, that's kind of where it starts to get...
There's a conversation that goes down between the two of them, something along the lines of, what's his name, Ailes?
Ames.
Ames says something to him like, you know, we don't have muggers around here because you come up and try to mug somebody and you get shot. Yeah. And it looks like it clicks with him there, and he says, you know what, like maybe this is what I need to bring back with me to New York.
Exactly.
That seems to be the turning point for him.
And the scene, and the director has talked about this, the scene where it finally clicks for him, makes him decide that he has to wipe out the criminals in New York, is when he's looking at photographs of him and his wife on their vacation, which was just days before she was killed. And then he starts killing every mugger he sees. And the first scene I think we should talk about is the scene where the wife is killed and the daughter is raped.
Right.
I remember when we watched that, it really got to you.
That did. I don't particularly like seeing violence, especially sexual violence perpetrated against women. There's no particular trigger for me. It just bothers me in general. And the way that the hyper-violence way that they did it, which I think I mentioned earlier, was very reminiscent of the hyper-violence that was present in Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, ultra-violence.
Ultra-violence. It made me think very much of the scene in Clockwork Orange where they beat the old man with the cane in the street. But it was particularly bothersome. Just in general, it was a very jarring scene, as I think it was meant to be.
Yeah, it's meant to show just how awful this is, and it is already awful,
Right.
And I've seen a lot of rape scenes in movies,
Right.
but a lot of them are just not as brutal as
They
this
don't.
scene.
Right. Yes, that's very true. That was hands down the most brutal rape scene I have seen in a movie. It made me physically uncomfortable. But I think it was a necessary part of the movie's plot point.
It is. And the sequel, Death Wish 2, has a rape scene that is arguably even more disturbing. But Death Wish 2, and I'm going to be clear, I love all the Death Wish movies that I've seen. But I will admit, the sequels did get a bit more exploitive as they went on. And more cartoonish, because the second one came out 8 years after the first one, and
Let's see, so it would have been in the 80s.
1982.
Right.
And crime was still pretty big in the 80s, but you feel part of the reason they made it was to cash in on just how successful Charles Bronson was. Michael Winner did an interview about Death Wish 2 where he said that he made it to show how awful these crimes are and show that they're still around, very relevant. But when watching Death Wish 2, you got the feeling, yeah, this is meant just to sort of get you in the seat and get you... Overall, all the Death Wish movies, all the Charles Bronson movies, they have one theme. The bad guys always pay.
Right. And that did seem to be the overall theme of the movie, was that, you know, despite his vigilantism, in the end he got away, and all the bad guys paid. Although I don't believe he ever got the chance to encounter the original muggers.
That's a very good thing about... Well, I don't know if it's good, but it's a very interesting point about the first movie and the whole series. He kills all these muggers who hurt innocent people, but he never... And the second movie and the later movies carry a more revenge theme. Here he's just...
He never gets vengeance in this movie.
Yeah, he never gets vengeance.
He simply gets some sort of satisfaction from ridding the city of crime.
Someone wrote on a forum an interesting idea. What if he did encounter the people who killed his wife and raped his daughter and killed them, but he didn't know it was them? That would have been an interesting thing.
I was expecting that to happen, actually, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That was my expectation, was that he would run into them in the street mugging someone else and kill them and not get the satisfaction of knowing that he had actually killed the people who perpetrated the original crime, but instead, only got the satisfaction of knowing that he had saved an innocent life.
Yeah.
I was expecting that much towards the end of the movie. There was that scene where he was on the stairs and he was being asked about how much money he had, and at first I thought it was the original three guys, and the two guys popped up at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wait a second, is this going to be the encounter?
But then you realize it's not them.
I realized it wasn't them.
Because two of them are black.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
The original muggers are all white or...
Jeff Goldblum was not there.
Oh yeah, I was gonna get to that. One of the original, the three headlined rapists who attack his family, one of them is Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, in his very first movie role. And you can you may not recognize him at first. You didn't at first.
I didn't. As soon as you mentioned it, I saw his face and I was like, oh, there he is.
Yeah.
There's Jeff.
Yeah, you can kind of tell if you've seen Jurassic Park enough times. He has long hair, he's very skinny, he's still a towering height.
Mm.
Probably an inch shorter than you.
Probably a couple, yeah.
But yeah, you can tell it's him, and he has these... For this role, he has really bugged out eyes.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum always has bugged out eyes. I think his face just grew into him. Yeah. Since the role.
He's more mature, he's older, he's like 60.
Yeah, I think his face just grew a little bit. I think his eyes are still bugging out, though.
Yeah. And he has one of the most memorable mugger lines in the film. It's when he's beating the wife, played by Hope Lang, to death, and he yells, "Goddamn rich cunt! I kill rich cunts!" And he just has such... These muggers are just horrible.
They're bad people.
Yeah, like, next to... Yes, they rape and kill them, but they go in originally, they're just going in to steal their money.
Right.
And when they don't have any money, that's when they just jump on them and decide we'll just torture them for being inconveniencing us.
I think the movie does a bad job of painting a picture of crime and how crime comes to be perpetrated, because I think the majority of criminals aren't just like these wacky, insane people who are just like running around causing mayhem. I think a lot of crime is circumstantial in its nature, and I think a lot of crime is done out of desperation more than it is out of pure enjoyment of the crime. It seems as if those individuals are running around doing things and causing mayhem just for the fuck of it, because it was fun for them. But I think real crime comes from desperation. You
can kind of see, like, there's certain small moments. Yes, that part about being desperation is not elaborated on.
Right.
But
because throughout the movie... go on.
It's good. You can kind of see in certain moments, like that guy, the first guy he shoots, he's really... he looks pretty whacked out.
Right. They mentioned that he was probably on...
he's a drug addict.
He was a drug addict and he had puncture wounds in his veins and that he was probably smacked out.
Yeah. But also, you gotta think about the time this movie came out. The 1970s.
Right.
The crime wave in New York was beyond horrible, and... for the people in the country who live in cities like that at the time, this movie, I guess, was considered an escapist way to kind of feel like the people who were hurting them, they could see them get their comeuppance.
Right. That would make sense.
Like, they do simplify the idea of why criminals do what they do, but it doesn't overall bug me too much. And
I think to try to elaborate in an action movie about a vigilante on why criminals perpetrate crimes would be a little misplaced.
Yeah, like if you elaborate on why every criminal does what they do, then we wouldn't have action movies.
Right, exactly. Like if the villain in any movie for some reason had like an elaborate backstory as to why they were perpetrating a crime, you may go, this is not such a bad guy after all.
And a lot of movies do that, but at the same time they show that they're at a point where they can't redeem themselves.
Right.
Interesting fact, that scene where he rescues that guy who's getting beaten in the alleyway, and you see the three black thugs come at him with like the pipes. There's a rumor, it's never been confirmed, there's still debate as to whether or not it really is him, but there's a rumor that the third thug, who's on the right side of the screen, there's a rumor it might have been Denzel Washington.
Really?
Like, this might have been his first movie as well.
Is he not credited in it?
Yeah, there's a ton of people who were not given credit in this.
I imagine.
But you look at him, I look more closely at that scene, and I think it could be him, but
I wasn't paying attention. You didn't cue me up to look for it. I would have.
It would have ruined the mood of the scene.
Maybe.
But at the same time, you think, well, if you go back and watch it, pay attention to that part.
All right.
Just an interesting fact to know. And now we've talked about that part. Let's move on to the actors. How do you think Charles Bronson did in this?
I think Charles Bronson was a badass in this.
Oh yes, he is.
He came across as being calm, cool, collected, rational, while at the same time ready to fucking fuck someone up on an instant.
Fucking yay.
Which is, I mean, that's a recipe for an action star. He came across as a very good action star.
He's ripped. He just
Absolutely
has
jacked.
he just has a very tough, naturally tough face.
His face looks tough. He is completely jacked. A little jealous of that.
He was 52. Charles Bronson was
52.
Yeah, he was 52 when he made this movie, and he's not Schwarzenegger huge. More like I'd say more like a.
Well, Schwarzenegger's freakishly huge.
Yeah, he's more like a young Sylvester Stallone. Back when
Right.
Stallone actually looked like Bronson when he made this movie. Back when he did Rocky.
Right. Yeah, I could see the similarities.
I read
Other than the Asian bit.
Yeah.
He's like an Asian Stallone.
I don't think Charles Bronson's Asian. I think he's more like Native American.
Yeah,
Or-
you're right.
I know that Bronson isn't his birth name. His real name is... The name he was born with was Buczynski. I think it's Polish. But, yeah, and for years he was a boxer. And I think he actually trained people how to box. He did a movie in the 60s where he plays a boxing coach to Elvis Presley. Yeah.
The actual Elvis Presley?
Yeah, Charles Bronson was in an Elvis Presley movie.
Interesting. I
And
was actually not aware that Elvis was in any movies himself. I thought Elvis just stole black culture and then died on the toilet overdosing on pills and banana sandwiches.
Whoa.
That was my understanding of Elvis up until now.
You don't know that Elvis was in movies?
No, I didn't. I don't actually know that much about Elvis culture, despite my own mother coming from Memphis, Tennessee.
All I know is they're obsessed with him.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've listened to a few Elvis songs.
I went to the Elvis Museum.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes, I did. I took a trip to Memphis and I went to the Elvis Museum. Again, I thought all Elvis did was steal black culture and then die on the toilet from taking too many pills. So.
Lady Jess and the Rap Critic would like you a lot, or they'd like talking with you. There are other online critics, but yeah, I've seen a few Elvis movies and they're pretty generic, a little dumb. The songs are good. Hold on.
We got one right here. Elvis, GI Blues.
Yeah, he's like a singing soldier romancing a foreign babe.
In 1960, Elvis Presley had just completed a U.S. Army tour of duty when Hollywood drafted him for one of his biggest movie hits. GI Blues sends Elvis to Germany as a soldier who sings in his spare time. To raise money to open a nightclub, Elvis bets some fellow recruits he can spend a night with a beautiful, virtuous dancer, Julia Prowse. By the time he succeeds, he's fallen deeply in love, and the money's no consolation for the loss of his outraged sweetheart. Backed by the Jordaniaries, Elvis sings 10 of his greatest hits. The movie's soundtrack album was one on the Billboard's charts longer than any other, 111 weeks.
You could say those praises about just about every Elvis movie. Yeah,
That was more my Batman voice. It wasn't really appropriate for reading an Elvis movie.
yeah, and Viva Las Vegas and Jailhouse Rock. That's
Okay, I know about Jailhouse Rock,
Yeah. Welcome to the county jail.
which is also a little strange that Elvis did a movie called Jailhouse Rock, considering how much of black culture he stole. But
Moving on. But yeah, Charles Bronson, he's great, and something I love about him in this movie and the other Death Wish movies, he doesn't actually say that much dialogue.
no.
A lot of his acting comes from his facial movements.
Right, yeah. He definitely speaks a lot with body language, for sure.
And he's pretty good at that.
Yes.
I really like it when actors can pull that off, because it's pretty hard.
Right, it absolutely is. He spoke a lot through the movie with body language. He didn't have that many lines,
Yeah.
but he was speaking with his body for sure.
Like the scene where he looks over the photos, you can feel the emotion, and
Right.
after the funeral, like, we don't see him get emotional after he hears that his wife has died. And a lot of what he does, like, he says to people, I'm going back to my apartment, I have to sometime. And you can feel he's kind of keeping it in, but
Right.
you can tell he is just being torn apart inside.
Right. I mean, he as an actor, it's not like he's just a pure action star in this movie. He does express a lot of his emotion in this movie. In the first scene when he's on the beach with his wife and he goes and he tenderly kisses her on the lips and they, talk about making love on the beach, and she remarks, "Oh, we're too civilized for that. We should go to the hotel room." It's very tender and emotional and shows that he cares very much for his wife. And, that kind of sets the movie up for
Sets it up for all
It sets up the rape scene, really, where you go, oh my god, that's the woman that he loves being, brutally beat on and raped, so...
Exactly, and you just... Like I said, it kind of reminds me of the way a Stephen King movie will kind of open, where it doesn't open with anything horrific going on.
Like The Mist. The Mist didn't start off too horrific. It was...
Or Misery.
I did not see Misery.
Misery opens with the least horror-themed opening a horror movie could have.
Welcome to a Bed and Breakfast.
Well, it opens in a bed and breakfast, and it has a very cheery song playing, just very upbeat.
It was pretty upbeat for a while.
Yeah, like the first...
Up until everything floats down here.
It? You seen It?
Yes.
I loved that movie when I was a kid. I recorded it off TV, and my mom went nuts. She was real... My mom, as I've said in...
Come on down, Jimmy!
No, it's Richie. Everything floats down here. They all float here.
Also, that was a big role change for Tim Curry, because the last movie I had seen him in prior to that was Rocky Horror Picture Show, so...
I will openly admit, I'll be honest, there are some movies I haven't seen, and...
Is Rocky Horror Picture Show one of those movies?
You've seen two well-praised movies that I haven't seen, Rocky Horror and Labyrinth.
Oh my god, we are going to watch both of those movies.
Well,
we're watching both of those movies. It's on the list.
Maybe I'll watch them and then we'll talk about them later. But I'm getting to it.
Alright.
I haven't even seen every Charles Bronson movie. I've seen most of them, but not every single one of them.
Labyrinth is essential, and with David Bowie's recent death, rest in peace, Mr. Bowie. You will be missed. I think it'd be a good time to watch Labyrinth. It's a fantastic movie.
I'll see if I can find a copy.
Okay, alright, yeah, that's what you don't.
And, even though it's not a huge part, how do you feel Hope Lang did as his wife, Joanna?
I thought she was, it was elegant. They clearly showed a lot of intimacy in that first scene on the beach, and even when they went to, cuddle the night before, everything went to shit.
She came off as very innocent.
She came off as being very innocent and, not guilty of anything. Not
deserving.
Not deserving of what happened to her.
Exactly.
For certain.
Totally. And she was very beautiful.
Yes, both her and her daughter were gorgeous.
Originally, Charles Bronson's wife, hold on, I think, here it is. Charles Bronson's wife, Jill Ireland, was his leading lady more times than any other actress. And Michael Winner, the Death Wish director, he did not want Jill Ireland for this movie. Like, even though it's a small part, he didn't feel that she was right for it. And when he brought up to Charlie the idea, he asked, "So, do you want Jill to play your wife?" And he said, "No, I don't want her humiliated and messed around by these actors who play muggers." And he's like, "What type of actress do you want?" And he says, "A Hope Lang type." And Winter's like, "The only person who's like Hope Lang is Hope Lang." So they got her. And the actress who plays the daughter, Carol, Kathleen Tolan, for someone who's in a catatonic state for most of the film, she did a good job just showing someone who's been mentally...
She certainly looked like somebody who was experiencing a level of psychosis.
Yeah. Like, just for some people, this is what happens to them. And you really feel the pain, and if you think...
Like when she's laying in her bed and her husband goes over to comfort her and she just screams and turns away. That was, that was...
And if you think Carol got it awful in this movie, just wait until the second movie.
Don't.
Sorry. Didn't mean to upset you.
Don't need to have nightmares.
Sorry this movie gave you nightmares, Ty. I didn't mean to.
It's alright. It's okay. We're gonna get through this.
Yeah. It's a hard movie to watch, but when you get through it, it is a great movie. And Stephen Keats as the son-in-law, Jack.
There's a pussy.
Yeah, all he does is cry.
Just go, "Daddy, no, Daddy, I'm sorry. My girlfriend isn't feeling well. Daddy, I didn't want to tell you over the phone."
Well, she was raped.
She was raped and almost murdered.
Like, you can understand what he's feeling, what this character, Jack Toby, is feeling, but at the same time...
He comes off as a wet fish.
Just because, like, you can understand when a character is feeling bad about something, but when that's all they do throughout the whole film, even the most sympathetic people will finally be like...
He throws a pity party from start to finish, and that pity party never ends, which I suppose it was fitting in the movie.
It was fitting,
I don't have any real critique. I think he probably just played the character that he was asked to be played.
Even if an actor doesn't give a good performance, like, there are some genuinely awful actors, but there are actors who give the performance they give because that's how they were directed.
I think he gave a good performance.
Yeah, I do
but
too.
Was given a bad role.
Yeah, like the actors in the Star Wars prequels.
Right.
Like Hayden Christensen, who is considered a good actor by a lot of people as Anakin. People blame George Lucas for the direction he gave.
Yeah. I blame Jar Jar Binks for that, ruining all three movies.
He was only in the first one, really.
Yeah, but he ruined the other two.
Yeah, you're gonna think I'm insane, like, but like, I think the prequels are bad movies, but
they're like 6 out of 10.
Yeah, like there are some.
They're not bad. They're not
as bad as people make them out to be. But there are some good elements, some good moments, and you feel if they had been given to better writers and a better director, it could have worked. But
like Liam Neeson and Hayden Christensen is the adult version of Anakin, correct?
I actually like Liam Neeson in The Phantom Menace. He does a good job. I feel like Liam Neeson does a good job in just about everything he does.
Right, Liam Neeson and who was the other Jedi who played Obi-Wan?
Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor. I thought they both did a good job. Hayden Christensen
as Anakin.
I thought he did a good job, honestly. But
when he didn't like Charles Bronson, and the Nostalgia Critic did this in his top 11 good things about the Star Wars prequels. He said one of the best things about the Star Wars prequel trilogy was Hayden Christensen when he wasn't talking, because the scenes where you just see him give an intense glare. He said you could totally see that being Darth Vader.
Right.
But what I was about to say was, if I had to choose which one of the prequels was my favorite, it would be The Phantom Menace. Why? Because...
The first out of the three.
Yeah. And why? Well, it's the dumbest of the three, but...
I have a lot of nostalgia with it because I was a young kid when it came out, and
it's kind of the reason for me, too.
I had just seen the re-released original 3 Star Wars movies as a really young kid.
It's mostly the case for me.
Them. I had all the original Star Wars movies on VHS, and I watched them all the time.
Me too. So they're right there behind your head.
Are they the unedited versions?
Oh no, I have some DVDs of that cost like $60 to $80 a DVD.
Like they don't have any of the they didn't 3D edit Jabba the Hutt in there. There's no reason.
There's no 3D Jabba in the DVDs that I have. The Phantom Menace, although it's the dumbest of the prequel trilogy, at the same time, it's the only one that feels like an actual movie. Like, dialogue-wise, story-wise. And the other 2 prequels, everyone was just going, this is how it happened. I shall recount everything that happened in the previous scene to you, even though we, the audience, just fucking saw it.
Right.
We're getting off track.
We were talking about Death Wish,
yeah.
And then we went on to Star Wars, which was a dirty tangent.
I loved having conversations. I totally feel like we're going full Spoonie here. But anyway, the next actor, who I feel is the only other big part in the film, Vincent Gardenia as Frank Ochoa.
The cop?
Yeah, the one who's always coughing. The one
smoking cigars.
Yeah.
The fatter one, the heavier set guy.
Yeah, he's like, I want that on my desk, and I want it fast, as in today. What did you think of Vincent Gardenia's performance?
I thought his performance was really good. I wasn't expecting at the end for him to...
Wait, hold on.
Okay, alright.
Normally, I hold up a special card. Hold on.
We're on pause. I'm on pause right now.
I can't find it. But normally I hold up a card with an S to signify when we're going into spoiler areas. But I can't find it, so there's going to be no spoiler warnings for this episode.
Yeah, just watch the damn movie before you watch the review. Jesus, these people. These people. So entitled.
I'm glad you're the one I got to do this with me. But yeah, Vincent Gardenia, you were saying you were surprised?
I was really surprised because he seems to be painted as this like corrupt, like almost like the Penguin. He looks like the Penguin almost from Batman.
Yeah, he kind of does.
He makes me think of this corrupt police commissioner who's out to get this vigilante, but in the end he says, you know what, you did good. I'm throwing the gun in the river. We forget this ever happened.
Gives
Be
him a
out
chance.
of here.
Gives him a chance, and Charles Bronson takes it.
Takes it and goes to Chicago to, I assume,
continue
his
that final shot of the movie. What do you think of that shot?
I like that.
It just lets you know sequels.
Yeah.
And in the second movie, when at first it sets up that maybe he has retired from being a vigilante, but when something bad happens again, he goes into his closet, pulls off this secret compartment, and you see a gun. Just lets you, and you think in your head, you didn't think he was gonna really quit, did you? And he was like 60 when he did the second one.
Wow. Man, it keeps trucking.
Yeah.
Guy really
people thought Sylvester Stallone was doing something new with the Expendables.
He's still going. You can't kill.
Do you want to hear a joke about Charles Bronson?
Yeah, sure.
You know all those those millions of Chuck Norris jokes people did over the years?
Yeah, I was.
Well, I was going through the comment section of this video on YouTube that has Charles Bronson in it, and someone made up a Charles Bronson joke. And
Alright.
Chuck Norris roundhouse kicks Charles Bronson across the face. Bronson says, "Stop, that tickles." And he takes a lot in his movies. Like, you saw him, he handles, like, if he gets injured in this movie,
Right.
he has supplies in his bathroom, like
Right.
alcohol, cotton.
Right.
There's a scene where he gets...
He got sliced up on his shoulder and he cleaned himself up.
Yeah, it gives him another excuse to show his muscles.
Yeah. And another excuse not to go to the hospital because they knew he was wounded by a knife, and if he had gone to the hospital,
And he's pretty. That's another thing. The character is really smart.
Yeah, when he breaks the phone off of the hook, so that remember he's being pursued by the police commissioner's guy to see if he's home, and he breaks one of the phones off the hook.
I missed that.
The guy goes to try to make a call, and the phone is just
like I saw
broken.
I saw the phone broken, but I missed the part where he breaks it.
Maybe I thought
Maybe it was
it.
Maybe it was just luck.
Maybe it was already broken.
Yeah, maybe he just got lucky.
It's possible.
And
I did doze off for a little bit, but he revived me with 2 cups of coffee.
I always got the coffee.
He does always have the coffee.
The politicians in this movie. The scene where the mayor or the whoever it is and the commissioner meet with Vincent Gardenia, and Gardenia, he has found enough evidence to go after Charles Bronson.
We don't need a martyr.
Yeah, the politicians, they decide not to go after him because the public loves whoever the vigilante is.
Right. Their fear being that if they take down the vigilante, the public will revolt and go on a spree of vigilantism.
Yeah. What did you think of that aspect of the movie?
What aspect? The political aspect?
Yeah, like their corruption leads to Bronson going free.
Well, it's interesting. It's a hard question to answer. I think it was obviously an important plot point because generally, like in real life, they would take the vigilante in and put him through the court system, but because of their corruption and their almost willingness to not do anything on their own, it's almost as if their laziness leads to him going free.
They put it off to Gardenia's character to handle all the who's and what's.
And Gardenia decides he's going to let him go. They gave him one simple order. They told him to make him go away.
And in their mind, they're probably saying to him, kill him. But Gardenia showing, I guess, one of his...
They also said we don't need a martyr.
Yeah.
Which means we don't need him dead because then the people can rise up and say... and
maybe in their mind they thought, kill him and make it look like he's just a victim.
Right.
But Gardenia, one of his few, I guess, redeeming traits is that, while he is kind of corrupt, he doesn't kill people, I guess. He doesn't go after Bronson in that way. And at that final scene in the hospital...
I'd say Gardenia's not corrupt because he doesn't facilitate crime. He doesn't allow crime to happen. He doesn't force crime to happen in any way. He's not corrupt in that he's working with the bad guys. He's corrupt in that he's part of a system that he doesn't want to see changed. Does that make sense?
I think it does. That final scene in the hospital where he tells him, he points the gun at him, and then he says, if you get out of town, I'll throw this gun in the river. Are we communicating? And then Bronson's like, by sundown. just out of an old Western.
There were like at least three references to like Western movies.
Yeah,
but they all came after his visit to Tucson.
Yeah. I really love this movie. I really fucking love this movie.
Yeah, it was a really good movie. I can see how it played a pivotal role in future action movies.
And another cool thing about this is it's not just primarily an action movie. I mean, it is a solid action film.
Right.
But it's also a very emotional drama. And it handles that part of it pretty well.
It does. You're right. You're absolutely right. It isn't a straight action movie. You do feel genuine concern for the daughter and her mental health. You feel genuine concern for Bronson's loss of his wife and his health, and you feel genuine concern for the son, even though he was a pussy whip bitch.
Yeah. What did you think about, even though it's never elaborated on, what did you think about the mental state of Bronson's character, Paul Kersey?
Well, he was obviously distraught, but also angry at the same time.
Like, he's clear-headed.
Right.
He's still very intelligent.
Right.
But you wonder, is he losing any of his humanity at all? Because he still obviously has it at the end. He helps that girl at the station.
I think
if
there's anything that took his humanity away, it was the loss of his wife. And I don't think what he did from that point forward further detracted from his humanity.
It's complicated.
It's complicated.
It's a complicated movie.
It's a complicated movie. There's actually a lot more going on in this movie than I originally realized, even throughout watching it. It got deeper and deeper as the movie went on, for sure.
Did you hand me that DVD?
Absolutely. No. Fuck off, kid.
Well, you would have to have conceived me when you were 2. Anyway, just a fact, this is the DVD cover the movie has nowadays, but it's wrong. This is not the gun from the movie.
No, that is not the gun from the movie.
This is the gun from Death Wish 3. For some reason, they decided to put it on the cover to the first one. I mean, the image of Bronson is right. I just thought this was...
The gun he used was like a 6-shooter type of deal.
Yeah, pistol. This is a Wilde Magnum. One of the most powerful handguns in the world. And
I don't know that.
I read this fact. Death Wish 3, which is pretty much just a huge product placement for the Wilde, I read that whenever that movie, Death Wish 3, plays on television, this is what the gun companies say. Whenever that movie plays on TV, the sales for it go up.
I can imagine. So there's a reason the sales for AR-15s are through the roof too.
And the body count for this movie... What, do you remember? Were you keeping track?
I'm gonna say 26 people.
11.
11.
10 of which are killed by Bronson. Yeah, like the
last one being his wife.
Yeah, Bronson's wife is the only one who's killed by a mugger. Like all the other victims in the film, they are beaten and hurt, but no one else really dies.
I don't know why I thought 23. Maybe he's less badass than my brain has made him out to be.
Oh, he is as badass. He's so badass that
he's so badass. He made me think he killed more people than he actually did.
Yes.
Am I right? That's an acceptable answer.
Guess what the body count in Death Wish 3 is?
Is it excessive?
I think it's over 50, maybe around 80. I don't know. I lost track.
Oh, okay. I thought you had like a little ticker there.
I forgot to write it down. But Death Wish 3, he not only has the Wilde, he has a machine gun.
Oh, okay. Well, a machine gun, it just skews the...
The author of the book... Death Wish is based on a novel, by the way. The author of the book... Brian Garfield, he hated Death Wish.
The movie?
Yeah. His novel, from what I read, it was, even though it's about a vigilante killing criminals on the street, his book was meant to be a movie advocating against vigilantism. And I don't see it the way he sees it at all, but he thought the movie portrayed vigilantism in a positive way. Anyway, Brian Garfield, he didn't like the movie. He just thought it changed the message of his book.
I see.
What do you think?
Well, as someone who hasn't read the book, I can't give any real comment on
I haven't read the book
discrepancies
either.
between the book and the movie.
It's just the fact that I read that...
I do think the movie did encourage vigilantism. Not that the movie was like blatantly like, hey, go out, pick up a gun, and start shooting. It was just like, it made it look like he was a badass, and the movie ended with him being a badass vigilante, and it didn't say one way or the other whether it condoned or condemned vigilantism. It was
pretty vague on that
It just
part.
simply was.
It's kind of vague.
Right.
In the 1980s, there was this real-life incident. You ever heard of a guy called Bernard Goetz?
No.
He was a man who was on a subway in New York City, and 4 black teenagers tried to apparently mug him, or he thought they were going to mug him, and he shot all of them. And he fled, and it took him a few days to catch him. And one of the places that he stopped when he was running away was Keene, New Hampshire.
Really?
Yeah, they caught him in Concord eventually.
I've never heard of Keene, New Hampshire. It's so funny.
You're joking.
Have you been to Keene?
I'm not falling for this.
Okay. Alright. My host, I'm taking over. This is a hostile takeover. My co-host has gone mad.
We live in Keene. Well, I live in Keene.
He lives in Keene, I don't.
You live in Rindge. I'm keeping this part in. If they know where I live...
Don't tell my fucking street address in the credits.
I'm not going to.
I don't need any panties or bras getting thrown my direction, ladies.
Okay, I gotta say this just for the fuck of it. According to the Hollywood Reporter, they claim Elvis Presley was offered the lead in this. And
that would have been tragic, huh?
Yeah, other sources claim people like Steve McQueen, Frank Sinatra, Clint Eastwood were offered.
I could see Frank Sinatra. I'm gonna fucking kill you.
And who else? Oh yeah, George C. Scott. He's the guy from Dr. Strangelove. The gravelly voiced guy, the general.
Oh, they're gonna see the big board!
Yeah, that guy. He was offered the role of Kersey, apparently.
Love Dr. Strangelove, by the way. It's one of my...
Oh no, you did it wrong.
One of my favorite movies.
My drug! Well...
I can do an excellent Smeagol, by the way. You want to hear it?
Do you want to hear it? Yes, they do.
Yes.
Do it.
Stupid fat hermits! Tricksy hermits! No, Master likes us! Yes, Master treats us good! No, he's tricksy! He has the process! He wants it for himself! No, Master loves us!
Just when I ran out of tissues.
It's okay, I got a backup.
That was fucking incredible. That actually sounded like Andy Serkis.
Thank you very much.
I mean it. That was just cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
So overall, I love Death Wish, and if I had to give it a rating out of 10, 9.8 out of 10. This movie is fucking awesome! I love it, and not everybody can stomach it, but those who can, they will think it is a great film, it's a great drama, it's great action, and Charles Bronson had been in movies before this, but only as a supporting actor, really. Mm-hmm. He was in The Magnificent Seven, The Dirty Dozen, The Great Escape, Once Upon a Time in the West, but this was his first major lead role that I guess made him a superstar. What did you think of it, if you had to give it a rating?
If I had to give it a rating, I'd give it 4 boxes of popcorn and a little can of spray paint.
Excellent rating, Ty.
Thank you.
So, this has been the first review of the year from me, the Bisexual Movie Buff, and Ty, what do you want to call yourself?
Cool Guy McGee.
We'll work on it. So,
yeah, I'll come up with something next week.
And since I used 2 very taboo words in the beginning, I'll just throw a fag in there.
Yeah, queers.